Let's start with a very human place, not with enlightenment, not with peace, but with uncertainty. With the moment you sit still, and for the first time in a long time, you say to yourself, I don't know what to believe anymore. That moment is not a failure. It's not a weakness. It might just be the most honest thing your heart has ever said. Because let's be real, most of us were not born into a clear path. We were born into noise, into culture, traditions, opinions, into elders who said this is right, teachers who said that is true, books that contradicted each other, spiritual voices that clashed. And after a while, you can feel lost in it all. What's real? What's good? What's true? The Buddha never condemned people for having these questions. In fact, he welcomed them. And there's a particular sutta, a teaching from the Buddha, that shows us exactly how. The Kalamas and their dilemma. In a small village called Kesaputta, the Kalama people were living in confusion. Teachers came and went, each preaching a different truth, each claiming they held the only real Dhamma, each dismissing the others. The Kalamas were torn. And they did something few people in any age have the courage to do. They asked. They came to the Buddha and said, in essence, so many teachers come here, Venerable Sir. They say different things. They speak ill of each other. We're confused. We don't know who to trust. What should we believe? And instead of rebuking them, instead of demanding loyalty or blind faith, the Buddha responded with one of the most revolutionary teachings ever spoken. It is proper for you to doubt, Kalamas. Doubt has arisen in you about what is doubtful. And 365 Kalama Sutta. That's it. He didn't say, just believe me. He didn't say, have faith in the lineage. He didn't say, your doubt is a sign of weak merit. He said, you are right to question. And right there, right in that moment, the Buddha dismantled the foundation of blind belief. Because the Dhamma is not built on submission. It's built on seeing. The Buddha's criteria for truth from there. The Buddha gave them a method, not a creed, not a scripture to memorize, but a living, breathing way to discern truth. He said, do not go by oral tradition, lineage reports, scriptures, logical reasoning, philosophical argument, appearances, personal biases. The authority of your teacher instead, observe for yourself. When you know for yourselves, these things are unwholesome, these things are blameworthy, these things are criticized by the wise, these things when undertaken and observed lead to harm and suffering, then you should abandon them. And 365. And when you know for yourselves, these things are wholesome, blameless, praised by the wise, and lead to welfare and happiness, then you should enter and abide in them. This is not about belief. This is about direct understanding. This is about watching the effects of actions, intentions, mind states, not someday in a far-off rebirth, but here and now. If hatred makes your heart tighten, that is your teacher. If greed leaves you restless, that is your lesson. If generosity softens your mind, if loving kindness steadies your breath, these are your confirmations. The Buddha didn't want you to believe him. He wanted you to see why. Learning the Dhamma matters, but here's the catch. You can only observe rightly when your mind is trained. You can only discern wisely when you understand how the Dhamma works. That's why learning matters. That's why the Dhamma is not just a spiritual feeling or good intention. It is a training, a gradual discipline, a path. If you misunderstand the path, if you mistake sensual pleasure for happiness, or ego for confidence, or silence for wisdom, you may follow what feels right and still end up deep in suffering. The Kalamas were not told to follow their feelings. They were told to see causes and effects clearly and to align their conduct accordingly. In the Pali Canon, this is the essence of wise practice. Sabapa pasa akaranam, to refrain from all evil kusalasa upasampada, to cultivate the good sachita paryodapanam, to purify one's own mind. Dhammapada 183. This is not about dogma. This is about purification. Learning the Dhamma helps us purify perception, speech, thought. Without this clarity, we live reactive, foggy lives, even if we call ourselves spiritual. A teaching for every. Seeker, the beauty of the Kaccāyana Sutta is that it's not just for monks, not just for scholars, not even just for Buddhists. It's for the sincere seeker. The one who says, I don't want to follow blindly, but I also don't want to be cynical. I want to know for myself what truly leads to peace. And the Buddha says, that's the right question, but don't expect a shortcut. Don't expect it to come from emotion or philosophy alone. It comes from living the path, from sila, moral conduct, to samadhi, concentration, to panya, wisdom, from restraint to stillness to insight, step by step. When doubt becomes devotion, you see, doubt is not the enemy. Clinging is blind clinging to systems, blind clinging to spiritual experiences, even blind clinging to doubt itself. But when doubt is honest, when it's rooted in a humble longing for truth, it becomes a doorway. The Kalamas walked through that door, and when they saw clearly the effects of greed, hatred, and delusion, and the peace that comes from generosity, compassion, and clarity, they no longer needed to believe. They knew, and so can you. Closing this first step. So if you're confused, you're not alone. If you're overwhelmed by voices, doctrines, teachers who contradict each other, you're not lost. You're just standing at the threshold, like the Kalamas once did. And what matters now is not who you follow, but how you walk with mindfulness, with kindness, with courage to question and to observe. In the next parts, we'll go deeper. We'll walk this road slowly, but for now, let this be your anchor. Don't go by hearsay. Don't go by lineage. Don't go by scripture. Go by what you see, clearly, wisely, for yourself. That's the Dhamma. That's the way of awakening, and that's only the beginning. Seeing with wisdom. The heart of right view. When we first step onto the path, the mind is often clouded by confusion, by ideas, by attachments, by habits we don't even recognize. It's like trying to see the stars through a thick fog. The Buddha understood this clearly. He didn't expect immediate clarity. Instead, he emphasized the need to cultivate right view, samadhi, as the foundation of the entire path. Right view is not an abstract philosophy. It's a living, breathing understanding of the reality of suffering, its causes, and the possibility of release. In the Kaccāyana Sutta, the Buddha teaches the Kalamas to look carefully at their experience, to notice how actions lead to outcomes, and to embrace wisdom grounded in personal insight, not blind faith, the Four Noble Truths as the core of right. View, the Buddha's insight into suffering, the Four Noble Truths, is the key to right. View, dukkha. Life as we commonly experience it is marked by unsatisfactoriness, sickness, aging, loss, grief, change, and dissatisfaction. Samudaya. There is a cause to suffering, craving, attachment, ignorance, which fuels the cycle of birth and death. Nirodha. It is possible to end this suffering by extinguishing craving. Magga. There is a path leading to the cessation of suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path. Right view means seeing these truths clearly, not just in words, but in your direct experience. When you observe your own mind and body honestly, you begin to see how desire creates tension, how clinging leads to pain, how letting go brings relief. This seeing is not passive, it is active and demanding. It requires honesty, patience, and the willingness to confront discomfort. The danger of extremes, one of the Buddha's great teachings, emphasized in the Kaccāyana Sutta, is avoiding the extremes of eternalism and annihilationism. Some people cling rigidly to the idea that there is a permanent self or soul that exists unchanged forever. Others deny any continuity or cause and effect, believing that nothing really matters, that there is no rebirth or consequences. The Buddha taught a middle way, avoiding these extremes. He showed that all things arise dependently, conditioned by causes and conditions. Nothing exists independently or permanently. This dependent origination, paticca is the key to understanding existence as a flowing, interrelated process. With right view, we see the world as it is, impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self. And we avoid being trapped by mistaken beliefs that only deepen suffering. Wisdom grows through experience, but right view is not static. It grows and deepens as we practice. It begins with hearing the teachings, reflecting on them, and putting them into practice in daily life. As the mind calms through ethical living and meditation, we see more clearly the processes of craving, clinging, and suffering within ourselves. Insight arises naturally. This is why the Buddha advised the Kalamas to see for yourselves, to test teachings through experience. When you observe how greed brings agitation, anger causes pain, and generosity brings ease, your wisdom becomes grounded. You no longer rely solely on words or others' opinions. You learn to trust your own direct understanding. The role of sila and meditation, ethical conduct, SLA, is the foundation for cultivating right view. Without restraint in speech, action, and livelihood, the mind remains restless and clouded. Meditation, samadhi, further stabilizes the mind, making it possible to observe phenomena without distraction or distortion. Together, sila and samadhi create the conditions for wisdom, panya, to flourish. It is through this wisdom that we realize the impermanent and non-self nature of all phenomena. A personal invitation to those walking this path: remember, right view is not something to be blindly accepted or rejected. It is something to be lived and tested. It may not always be comfortable. It may challenge your deepest assumptions and attachments, but it is the light that guides you through the darkness of confusion. The Buddha's invitation in the Kaccāyana Sutta is a call to courage, to question, to observe, to awaken. The power and practice of Dhamma verification. When we speak of understanding the Buddha's teaching, it's essential to recognize that the path is deeply practical. The Buddha never asked his followers to accept his words out of faith alone. Instead, he consistently encouraged them to test, to verify, to experience the truth for themselves. This process is called ehipassiko. Come and see. The Kaccāyana Sutta's guidance. Trust but verify. In the Kaccāyana Sutta, the Buddha addressed a group of people confused by conflicting teachings. They asked him, "How do we know which teachings to follow?" His reply was simple but profound. Do not believe in anything simply because you have heard it. Do not believe in traditions because they have been handed down for many generations. Do not believe in anything because it is spoken and rumored by many. Do not believe in anything because it is found written in your religious books. Do not believe in anything merely on the authority of your teachers and elders. Do not believe in traditions because they have been accepted and praised by your community of teachers. Do not believe in anything because you think it agrees with your own views. Do not believe in anything because you like the idea. But when you know for yourselves that these things are unwholesome, these things are blameworthy, these things are censured by the wise, these things when performed lead to harm and suffering, then you should abandon them. Experiential wisdom over blind faith. This advice is revolutionary even today. It urges us to look beyond blind belief and to base our understanding on observation and experience. Wisdom arises when you clearly see the effects of your actions, which lead to suffering and which lead to peace. The Buddha's path is experiential, not dogmatic. The practice of reflection and mindfulness. To verify teachings, cultivate mindfulness, sati, watch your mind, emotions, and actions. When anger arises, note it. When craving pulls you, observe it. When generosity brings joy, feel it. Use these moments to test what is beneficial and what is harmful. This self-awareness brings clarity and deepens your understanding. Avoiding. The pitfall of attachment to views. One of the greatest dangers is to cling to views themselves, to become attached to ideas or beliefs. The Buddha warned that attachment to views leads to conflict and suffering. Right view is fluid. It evolves as your understanding grows. Be willing to question your assumptions and to let go when you discover deeper truths. The role of compassion and humility. True wisdom does not make us arrogant. It cultivates humility and compassion for others still struggling. Recognize that every being is on their own path, facing their own challenges. Your role is to walk your path sincerely, sharing your understanding with kindness, never forcing or condemning. The path of verification is lifelong testing. The Dhamma is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice of living, observing, learning, and growing. The Buddha's teaching is like a lamp lighting the way, but only you can walk the path. The more you engage sincerely, the more the truth reveals itself to you. So, dear friend, this is the essence of the Buddha's guidance. Trust but verify. Test for yourself. Walk the path with an open heart and a clear mind. Because in this, living verification lies true freedom. The middle way between extremes, as we continue our journey, one of the Buddha's most important teachings shines ever clearer. The middle way, the path that steers clear of extremes. Before awakening, the Buddha himself explored extremes, from indulgence in sensual pleasures to harsh self-mortification, and found neither brought lasting peace. The two extremes, eternalism and annihilationism. People often get caught in two opposing views. Eternalism, sasatavada, the belief that a permanent self or soul exists forever, unchanging and eternal. Annihilationism, uchedavada, the belief that after death, everything ceases completely. No continuation, no consequences, no rebirth. Both views create suffering by binding the mind to rigid concepts that do not reflect reality. Dependent. Origination, the reality between extremes. The Buddha taught paticca samuppada, dependent origination, showing that all phenomena arise due to causes and conditions. Nothing exists independently or permanently. Like a flame that flickers, sustained by fuel and wind, life is a process of interdependent arising and passing away. This insight dissolves the clinging that fuels suffering. Seeing the world as process, not permanence. When we see ourselves and the world as fluid, conditioned, and impermanent, our attachment loosens. Pain and pleasure, birth and death, gain and loss, all are natural movements within this flow. No fixed self controls these events. This realization is liberating. The danger of view's attachment to any view, whether that all is eternal or that all is annihilated, closes the door to understanding. The Buddha urged his followers to hold views lightly, testing them against direct experience. The true teaching lies beyond fixed opinions. Practicing the middle way. Walking the middle way means cultivating ethical behavior that neither indulges in excess nor punishes the body unnecessarily. Developing mindfulness that observes phenomena without grasping. Growing wisdom that understands the nature of impermanence and non-self. The practical benefit. This balanced approach brings freedom from the fear of death and the delusion of permanence. Tiu calms the mind and opens the heart. It leads to peace that is not dependent on external circumstances. An invitation to let go. Let us practice seeing things as they truly are, conditioned, impermanent, and not self. In this seeing, may we find the courage to let go of rigid beliefs and the suffering they cause. May we walk the middle way with clarity and compassion. The four attachments, recognizing what binds us is. We deepen our understanding. The Buddha draws our attention to the subtle ways the mind clings. The four kinds of attachments, or tetherings, that entangle us in suffering. Recognizing these attachments is key to freeing ourselves. Sensual attachment, dukkhandha or dukkhadhamma. This is the craving for pleasant experiences through the senses, sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and touch. It's the endless chasing of pleasure, comfort, and excitement. Yet these pleasures are impermanent and often lead to dissatisfaction once they fade. Attachment to views, ditthicandha. This is the clinging to fixed beliefs, opinions, and ideologies. It's the rightness that closes the mind and shuts down inquiry. The Buddha warns that rigid attachment to views breeds conflict, division, and suffering. Attachment to rules and rituals, silabbata paramasa. Some become stuck in external forms, rituals, ceremonies, and moral codes, without understanding their purpose. When these become ends in themselves, they can blind us to the essence of the path. Attachment to self, attavada. The most subtle and deep-rooted attachment is to the idea of a permanent, independent self. This is the root of all suffering, the I, me, and mine that creates separation and craving. Understanding attachments as conditions, not truths. These attachments are not wrong in themselves. They arise naturally in the mind. The key is to observe them clearly, to see how they condition our reactions and bind us. With mindfulness and wisdom, we can loosen their hold. Practicing release. The path invites us to gently let go, to see sensual pleasures as fleeting, not ultimate, to hold views with openness, ready to adjust as insight deepens, to use rules and rituals as skillful means, not fetters. To realize the self is a process, not a fixed entity. The freedom beyond attachments, in letting go, a vast space opens, a freedom unbound by craving, fear, or delusion. This freedom is the heart of liberation. It is the peace that arises when we stop clutching and start living with open hands. A reflection for the journey. Where do you notice your own attachments? Can you meet them with kindness and curiosity? May this awareness be a gentle beginning of your letting go. The reality of rebirth. Understanding continuity beyond self now, let us gently explore a teaching often misunderstood. The reality of rebirth. The Buddha's words about life, death, and rebirth are not mere superstition, but grounded in profound insight into suffering and continuity. Rebirth. Without a permanent soul, unlike many religions, Buddhism does not teach a permanent soul or self that transmigrates. Instead, rebirth is a continuity of processes, like one candle lighting another. A flame is passed on, not a fixed entity. 4 modes of birth. The Buddha describes 4 modes of birth. Egg-born, oviparous. Beings born from eggs, such as birds and reptiles. Womb-born, viviparous. Beings born from a mother's womb, including humans and mammals. Moisture-born. Beings born from damp environments, such as some insects and microorganisms. Spontaneously born, apparitional. Beings that appear without. Physical parents, like devas or beings in other realms, arising due to karma and conditions. Karma as the condition for rebirth is karma, volitional actions, that propels this cycle. Our intentions and actions plant seeds that ripen into future experiences. This ongoing process continues until full awakening breaks the chain. The purpose of understanding, rebirth. This teaching reminds us that actions matter deeply. It encourages ethical living, compassion, and mindfulness of consequences. Knowing that suffering and happiness flow from our own deeds inspires responsibility and hope. Avoiding misunderstandings. Many get caught in extremes, either denying rebirth altogether or becoming obsessed with it. The Buddha's middle way calls us to understand rebirth wisely, as a process grounded in cause and effect, not myth or fear. Cultivating insight into impermanence. Seeing rebirth as part of dependent origination deepens our grasp of impermanence and non-self. It helps us loosen attachments and fears about life and death. Encouragement for practice. Whether rebirth is near or far, certain or uncertain, our task remains the same: to cultivate wholesome intentions, wise actions, and let go of clinging. This is the path to liberation, here and now. A closing reflection: consider the cycle of birth and death, not as a curse, but as an opportunity. A call to wake up, to practice sincerely, and to free ourselves from suffering's grip. The Four Noble Truths. The heart of the teaching. Let us now return to the very core of the Buddha's awakening, the Four Noble Truths. They are simple in form, yet profound in depth, guiding us from suffering to liberation. The truth of suffering. Dukkha. Life, in its usual state, includes suffering: birth, aging, sickness, death, separation, and not getting what we want. Even pleasures are impermanent and tinged with dissatisfaction. Recognizing this truth is not pessimism but clarity. The cause of suffering. Samudaya. Suffering arises due to craving, tanha, clinging, and ignorance. It is our desire to hold on to what is impermanent, to fix what is always changing that fuels the cycle. The cessation of suffering, Nirodha. There is an end to suffering, when craving and ignorance cease. This cessation is called Nibbana, the unconditioned, the peace beyond all turmoil. The path leading to the cessation, Magga. The Buddha offers a path, the Noble Eightfold Path, as the way to end suffering. Right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, walking the path. Step by step, this path is not a quick fix, but a gradual unfolding. With effort, patience, and mindfulness, wisdom grows, the heart softens, freedom arises, the importance of direct experience. The Buddha emphasized personal investigation. Don't just accept teachings on faith. See for yourself, test the path, observe what leads to peace and what leads to suffering. Invitation to the journey. This is the invitation before us. To see clearly, to understand deeply, to practice diligently, to walk from confusion to clarity, from bondage to freedom. Wisdom, Panya, the light that dispels darkness as our journey deepens. We come to the vital quality of Panya, or wisdom, the clear seeing that dissolves confusion and suffering. What is wisdom? Wisdom is not mere knowledge or intellectual understanding. It is direct insight into the true nature of reality, seeing things as impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-self. 3 types of wisdom in early Buddhism. The Buddha taught that wisdom arises through 3 stages: Suttamaya Panya, wisdom from listening, hearing the teachings, learning from others; Cintamaya Panya, wisdom from reflection, thinking deeply, questioning, and understanding; Bhavanamaya Panya, wisdom from meditation, realizing through personal experience and direct insight. The journey of wisdom, hearing alone, is not enough. Reflection deepens understanding. Meditation transforms understanding into living wisdom. Wisdom as a moral force. True wisdom inspires ethical behavior, compassion, and humility. It does not boast or cling to views but remains open and flexible. Wisdom and freedom with wisdom, attachments loosen, fears diminish. The mind rests in clarity and peace. Cultivating wisdom to cultivate wisdom. Listen carefully to the Dhamma. Reflect honestly on your experience. Meditate regularly to see deeply. Encouragement. Wisdom is the lamp that lights the path. Let it guide you through doubt, confusion, and fear. Step by step, moment by moment. The middle way, avoiding extremes for true liberation. As we approach the fullness of the Buddha's teaching, it is crucial to understand the middle way. 2 extremes to avoid. The Buddha taught that clinging to extremes leads to suffering. The extreme of sensual indulgence, chasing fleeting pleasures. The extreme of self-mortification, harshly punishing the body. The middle way explained. The middle way is a path of balance, avoiding these extremes. It honors the body as a vehicle for practice, treating it with care but without attachment. It cultivates a mind free from craving and aversion. Applying the middle way in life. This means not chasing after every desire, not rejecting life's experiences with harshness. Finding peace in moderation and mindfulness. The middle way in understanding reality beyond behavior. The middle way also applies to views. It avoids dogmatic attachment to existence or non-existence. Instead, it embraces the truth of dependent origination, that things arise and pass due to causes and conditions. Freedom through balance. Walking the middle way leads to clarity and freedom. It opens the heart and mind to peace. A gentle invitation, may you find your own middle way in your thoughts, actions, and heart. May it guide you to freedom from suffering. Letting go. The final freedom as we come to the close of this journey, we arrive at the heart of the Buddha's teaching, letting go. The source of suffering, all suffering arises from clinging. to views, to self, to desires, to life itself, our task is to gently recognize these attachments, the practice of release. The Buddha likened the teachings to a raft, useful for crossing the river, but not to be carried after crossing. When we reach the other shore, liberation, we let go of all grasping, the peace beyond words. This freedom is quiet, beyond concepts and beliefs. It is the peace of a mind no longer caught in struggle. The invitation. May you walk this path with patience and kindness. May you come to see clearly what binds you, and may you find the courage to let go. A final reflection. The stillness beyond clinging lies true freedom. There is no path, no traveler, only this moment, only peace. Thank you for sharing this journey. May your steps be gentle, your heart open, and your mind at ease.